This is the True Believers Bible Study with Ray McCollum. Let's figure things out.
Welcome back to the True Believers Bible Study. We're looking at the principle of interpreting the Bible from the Apostle Paul's phrase in 1 Corinthians 15, first the natural, then the spiritual. That is the order of God's revelation. The Old Testament is the natural, it comes first. The spiritual comes next. It is the New Testament, which reveals the truths in the Old Testament that were presented in the natural, focusing on the physical, and the New Testament, which explains the spiritual meaning of what happened in the Old Testament and brings forth the spiritual principles that were illustrated in the Old Testament, like the law. The law said, don't commit adultery. That's the natural. Don't physically commit adultery. But in the New Testament, Jesus presents the spiritual meaning of it by saying, if you lust after a woman in your heart, you have committed adultery with her already. So Jesus actually takes the natural and presents the spiritual full meaning of that law or commandment. The same is true with murder. Physical murder in the Old Testament was forbidden, but in the New, Jesus said you can't even hate your brother in your heart, or you commit murder against your brother. So we see the natural principle in the types and shadows in the scriptures. The Old Testament types are events, persons, or objects that foreshadow a spiritual truth that's explained in the New Testament. And we've given you some examples of that. Today, I would like to focus on how the Bible in the Old Testament is the physical expression of the two religions that are in the world. How many of you know that people get confused about religion because it seems there are so many choices? I mean, this is the thing that we hear as an objection from people to Christianity or to the Bible or religion in general. People will tell you, well, there's so many religions in the world. How can I know which one is true? Or they'll even look at Christianity and say there's hundreds of denominations and groups and camps and movements within the professing church, the visible church. So how can I know which one is true? It's all so confusing. Well, let me try to simplify it by saying that there are only two religions in the world, only two. There is the true faith presented in Jesus Christ, the gospel of Christ, and then there are all the other religions in the world, and they may appear to be many, but they're really just one. Let's say there's only one truth, and you could say there are many other truths. No, if there's one truth, then all the other truths are not true. And that's the same principle that can be applied to the study of religion. In the early on, after the fall of Adam, he had two sons. He had his first son was Cain, and then his second son was Abel. And in the Genesis 4, right after the fall, we see the two religions illustrated by these two men. Both of these men wanted to approach God. That's what religion is. It's a way to approach God. If you recall the story, Cain came to God to worship him with the works of his own hands. He brought the fruit of the field. He brought his own harvest, things that he had brought forth with his own labors. But then his brother Abel does not bring the works of his own hands. He brings the sacrifice, the blood sacrifice of a lamb. And God accepts the offering of Abel, but he rejects the offering of Cain. And there you have the two religions. All the religions of the world, no matter what their names are, how many there may be, are all the religion of Cain, in that they approach God on the basis of their own works. On the other hand, the true religion is typed, so to speak, in Abel, who did not bring the works of his hands, but brought a sacrifice of blood to atone for his sins. We can never approach God based on the works of our own hands, our own works, our own good works. No matter how many good works we bring, it will never be acceptable to God. He will reject that offering. He will turn away from that approach. But if we approach him on the basis of recognizing our sin and that something innocent has to die, the shedding of blood has to be offered, because without the blood, there's no atonement for sins. A life must be given. And that is the true religion that's represented by Abel. Of course, when Cain sees that his brother's sacrifice of blood is accepted and his is rejected, we see the first murder committed. So the first murder was over religion. And how many countless numbers of murders and wars have been fought in human history over the issue of religion? The problem is we've not done the best job we could do as the church of presenting the clear picture of the two religions and offering Christ as the only solution, the only real solution. So there we see a presentation of types and shadows, the two religions represented in the two men, Cain and Abel. We'll have more next time. Till then, please like us, share us, tell your friends and neighbors about us. We need to get this word out everywhere in Jesus' name. See you next time.
True Believers Bible Study is made possible by people just like you. To make a donation, please visit truebelieversbiblestudy.com.